Thank you very, very much for the very warm welcome. Let me welcome you to the state of Illinois, to the city of Chicago. I understand that our mayor was with you this morning. I'm not quite sure what he said, but let me speak for him when I say to you, Illinois is a union state. Chicago is a union city. And so long as I'm the Speaker of the House in Illinois, Illinois and Chicago will remain union jurisdiction. I'd like to offer some remarks this morning in three parts. To begin, a short synopsis of where the state of Illinois is governmentally and politically. Next, an analysis of the finances of the state, which is designed to point up the position that I'm going to articulate relative to our governor. And then lastly, I want to talk about the resources that are being marshaled against us for the general election in November, because the Illinois governor, Bruce Rauner, is absolutely committed against unionism. Governor Rauner, in his heart, fervently believes that Illinois and America would be better places without any unions. Everybody would be a free agent. The idea that people would come together collectively to bargain for wages and conditions of employment would end, and Illinois and America would move into a new millennium. So let me begin by talking about the Illinois budget impasse that you may have heard about because it's been reported all over the nation. Illinois went a year and a half, 1 year and a half, without an operating budget. You may ask, well, how could a government do what it does when they don't adopt a budget, which means that the executive department in that government does not have the legal authority to spend money? The answer is that there was a combination of court orders and the governor signing certain bills like the appropriation for elementary and secondary education that provided that close to 100% of what the state does on an ordinary basis just continued along, even though we had not adopted a budget. So you might ask, how in the world could that happen? How in the world could a major state like Illinois go a year and a half without a budget, and why did it happen? It happened because, as I said, our governor is firmly committed against unionism, and as part of our ordinary budget making, he laid down a demand, which he calls his turnaround agenda. The essence of the demand is that we lower the benefit level in workers' compensation, that we significantly repeal local government collective bargaining, and that we eliminate the prevailing wage. Those are the three main points in his demand: lower workers' compensation, repeal collective bargaining, repeal the prevailing wage. And the way he did this was to say that that demand must be met before we would do the budget making. If you think it through a little bit, it's really very unorthodox. It's really strange that a governor of a major state would say, whatever the state does in supporting education and supporting those that are mentally ill, fulfilling its obligations in the Medicaid program, all of that's going to be put on hold. It's going to be put to the side until we reduce workers' compensation, collective bargaining, prevailing wage. For a year and a half, I stood against that demand. I stood against that demand because my view is that if you were to do those three items, what you're really doing is lowering the wages and the standard of living of middle-class people in Illinois, and you're sending injured workers to the emergency room and to the welfare rolls. That's what it is, plain and simple. It's an all-out attack against the middle class, and that's why I stood against it. I'm going to ask you to bear with me for a little bit. I've just given you the essence of the struggle that we're involved here in Illinois, and it is an epic struggle between a strong-willed Republican executive governor and a majority Democratic legislature. And just to show how off the wall the governor's position is, let me take you through the finances of the state of Illinois. So if you were one who wanted to spend some time critiquing the government of Illinois, there's a lot of complaints that you could level against the government. But if you were being intellectually honest, the number one complaint would be the condition of the finances of the government of the state of Illinois, the budget deficit. We have a significant budget deficit. It's made worse because of structural deficits from prior years that are routinely carried forward. It's made worse because we have severe underfunding in the state pension systems and in the state retiree health care program. It's made worse because we have an aggregate debt load of $34 billion. Aggregate debt load of $34 billion. It's made worse because we've done an interfund borrowing of $454 million, which must be repaid. The comptroller of the state has estimated that sometime this summer, the amount of unpaid bills will reach $10 billion. Unpaid bills means that there are companies and individuals that have provided services or goods to the state. They're waiting to be paid. And that amount of money is $10 billion. Lastly, it's made worse because the governor is actually borrowing for operations. It's one thing to borrow for operations in the private sector. However, the history of borrowing for operations by government is not good at all, and it usually makes the problem even worse and leads to some kind of a reorganization of the government. So those are the facts of the finances of the state of Illinois. It's easy for you to come to the conclusion that Illinois is awash in debt. And with this in mind, the governor spends his time talking about reducing workers' compensation, repealing collective bargaining, repealing the prevailing wage. Now, Governor Rauner is a very serious-minded individual. And I've given you just a little reflection on what he's up to. He's a person who will put his money where his mouth is. And that's the real danger. The real danger is that we're looking at general election in November. The governor has already put into accounts $14 million to be used against the Democrats in the legislature. $14 million already placed in accounts. These are contributions by the governor himself from his own personal money and 3 of his friends, Sam Zell, Ken Griffin, Dick Uihlein. They're all multimillionaires based in Illinois. Since June 6, it's now 2 months, the governor and his people have spent $3.3 million, $3.3 million in 14 House elections. Ordinarily, when we do our campaigns, we Democrats don't start our spending until the month of August. They've already spent $3.3 million, more to come. This is a very serious situation for you and I. And I say you and I because I think we're in the same business. We're both in the business of representing working men and women, the members of the middle class, the people that are under attack by this Republican governor. If you look around the Midwest, it's easy to see the problem. Indiana has gone right to work. Michigan has gone right to work. Wisconsin has gone right to work. In certain of those instances, why maybe there were some false presumptions. Maybe some people in Wisconsin didn't think that Scott Walker would really have it in him. But once he was financed by national Republican money, why, we now know he had it in him. The danger is the same thing will happen here. This could be the last roundup. And that's why I'm with you today. That's why I want to thank you for what you've done for people like me here in Illinois, all over the country. Our cause is a just cause. We have nothing to apologize for. All we do day in and day out, many times in a very mundane manner, is to represent people that simply want a job so they can pay their bills, educate their children, provide for the elderly in their family in the twilight of their lives. That's what we're all about. And that's what I am committed to continue to do in Illinois government and in Illinois politics. But I want to ask for your help. I want to ask for your financial help to help me fight Rauner. I'm prepared to fight Rauner from now until Election Day, to do what we've always done in terms of good, effective campaigns. But as you can see from these figures, why I will be severely outspent. I just need to be somewhat competitive and be smart about what I do. That's what I'll have to do, and that's what I will do. So my special plea to you is, help me. Help me in this epic struggle. This is a little different than Mitch Daniels in Indiana, Schneider in Michigan, Scott Walker in Wisconsin. Same idea, same type of people, and the contributions will be coming from the same type of sources. We should all band together. Draw a line in the sand and say, this is the end of the line. We're not going across the line. We're standing here. We're standing for working men and women, and we will not be dissuaded from what we're doing. So again, let me welcome you to a wonderful city, a wonderful state. I think we can presume that one of our baseball teams is going to be playing baseball in October. I think the Cubs are now over 10 games ahead. So come back in the fall. I don't know about getting tickets for the games. It's a small ballpark. Have a great time. Enjoy the city.